Next up, another team who was one of the best in college football last year was the Oregon Ducks. So they got beat by Ohio State in that quarterfinal game, got beat pretty badly in that Rose Bowl against the Buckeyes, but it was still a really successful year for Dan Lanning in 2024. They were a perfect 13-0 before that college football playoff quarterfinal game that included a Big Ten championship in their first year as a member of the Big Ten. They were also one of two teams to beat Ohio State last year, beating them in the regular season. Expectations are still very high for Dan Lanning heading into year 4. His program is really at the point where it's reloading, not rebuilding, like the elite programs do in college football. The defense is strong at every position, and the offense should be able to rely on a really good rushing attack thanks to transfer running back Mekhi Hughes and a really good offensive line, a top 5 offensive line in my opinion. More questions with the passing game right now, but Oregon should still be one of the top teams in the Big Ten once again. And Dalton, like I said before, that defense is loaded everywhere.
They absolutely are. I mean, you talk about playmakers at all 3 levels. Guys like Mateo Uiagalelei on the defensive line. You got one of my favorite players in the country in Bryce Betcher at linebacker. And then you get guys like Dylan Thieneman and Taron Johnson, who, even though they lost a ton of veteran experience in the secondary, they've got a lot coming in now, especially in the portal. You know me with Dylan Thieneman. I think he's the best single high safety in the country. I think Dan Lanning knows that, and that's why he went and got him. If you wonder, okay, who's this safety from Purdue? If you haven't watched our show for the last year and a half, you'll know that we really like Dylan Thieneman, and him going to Oregon with Dan Lanning feels almost unfair. So it's a 3-layered defense, and Dan Lanning, for as much as Oregon has always been known for their explosive offenses and all the points they put up, this defense and Dan Lanning is going to be the foundation of this team. What Lanning and Tosh Lapoy do with it on that side of the ball, especially with all the transfers on the back end, going to be a huge part of their success this season.
I rank the top 10 defenses in college football, which should be coming out soon on PFF.com. They're my number 6 defense in college football, one of 5 schools in America who was mentioned in my top 10 defensive line, top 10 linebacker unit, and top 10 secondary. Not really a true weakness on that side of the ball right now. There are some questions with this passing game, I will say right now, because Oregon has produced back-to-back Heisman finalists at quarterback in Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel. I think it'll be an uphill battle for that to happen again in 2025. Now, of course, Dante Moore, immensely talented, right? He was the number 2 quarterback coming out of high school, only behind Arch Manning, a top 3 overall recruit in that 2023 high school class. But so far in his career, only a 57.6 PFF grade on 461 career snaps. Now, of course, most of that was his true freshman year at UCLA and not really a very good environment at UCLA. So it remains to be seen how he'll be at Oregon this year in a much better supporting cast. But the problem is, and the more concerning part, in my opinion, that wide receiver room took a big hit this offseason. Not only losing Tez Johnson to the NFL, but also Evan Stewart, their top receiver heading into 2025, is out for the season now with a torn patellar tendon in June. Now, you have a true freshman in DeCorian Moore, who was the number 1 receiver coming out of high school, a top 5 overall recruit. But you're kind of asking him to be probably your number 1 receiver right now going into next year. Now, maybe he's as good as Jeremiah Smith, and maybe he's as good as Ryan Williams, and he could be that kind of guy for you. Still a lot of pressure to be putting on a true freshman wide receiver too. So I have questions with that passing game right now, not only with Dante Moore, Dalton, but really with that wide receiver room right now.
Yeah, that's the part. And I like their offensive line, even with some of the guys that they lost. They got Isaiah World in there. They got Alex Harkey in there, Emmanuel Pregnant. I mean, I think they've got a pretty darn good offensive line.
Top 5 for me in the country, yeah.
Yeah, they got a good offensive line that's going to be able to protect him, but especially with Evan Stewart going out. And I know, I wasn't always, thinking like, oh, he was the best receiver, but he was still the number 1 receiver coming into this year on this team.
And I was excited for DeCorian Moore as the number 2 guy to maybe break out. Now you're like, hey, you got to be the number 1 guy immediately.
I mean, because you look at who else is going to step up. Obviously, we like Kenyon Sadiq at tight end, right? They got Malik Benson in from Florida State at receiver. But, yeah, I think you're really looking at this passing game this year more so than the last. We knew when they got Dylan Gabriel in last year, we're like, yeah, that works.
Tez Johnson and Evan Stewart.
That'll do. Yeah, right? We even Bo Nix going in 2 years ago after the first year was really good, and then he had the second incredible year as a Heisman finalist. But this is the first time in a while we don't know for sure with this passing game. They're going to run the ball. Their O-line's really good. I love Mekhi Hughes. I mean, absolutely. He was great at Tulane the last couple of years. If you haven't watched him, absolutely love him. Noah Whittington obviously is really good too. But that's going to be the big question, is Dante Moore and this passing game. And getting into Moore a little bit, let's go back to that 2023 season at UCLA, starting under Chip Kelly as a true freshman. And he kind of showed you everything a true freshman usually shows you. He shows you why he's talented. He's got a hose for an arm. I'll be honest with you, he can make every throw on the field. 94.1 deep passing grade that year was a top 15 mark in the country, and really good in Chip Kelly's play action concepts. It's just the accuracy and the poise, and that was not a great offensive line he was playing behind at UCLA. Now he's got one in clean pockets. Can he make the throws that he needs to make to move the chains? That's really what you're talking about with Dante Moore. He's got a hose. He can throw it downfield, but a lot of times it's about hitting singles, especially in this offense. We saw it with Nix. We saw it with Gabriel. They don't turn the football over. They get first downs. They let the athletes do the things they need to do with yards after the catch, right? So I think Dante, he's talented. He's got a little experience. What did he make? 6 starts that year it was, I think it was. This is another one where you go, I feel like the Big Ten is a lot like this, other than maybe Penn State, where you just go, which quarterback's going to step up? Yeah. And Dante is squarely on that list. He's talented. We can sit here and tell you the talent is there, is the accuracy and the poise there in big moments.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he could do. Like I said, he's immensely talented as a former 5-star, former top 5 overall recruit. But now you lose, a lot of wide receiver in Oregon. And yes, they have done a great job, Bo Nix and Dylan Gabriel, making them Heisman Trophy finalists and NFL quarterbacks too. But Dante Moore is probably more talented physically than maybe both those guys, honestly. Bo Nix is close.
Nix has an underrated arm for sure. Yeah. He showed that with Denver last year. But Moore, that's what I will say is if Moore is clean back there and he can step into it, he's got a hose.
Yeah, exactly. So Again, there's a lot of potential there, but the receiving core is what worries me a little bit with Oregon right now. Still a lot of talented players in the receiving core, but we'll see for them next year. But they should be able to rely a lot on the run game. And Mekhi Hughes, 2 outstanding years at Tulane. He was the number 1 running back in the portal this offseason, in my opinion, too. 1,982 rushing yards after contact over his first 2 years of college football. The only 2 running backs who had more were Ashton Jeanty and Amarian Hampton, who were first-round picks in the 2025 NFL Draft. Almost 2,800 rushing yards over the last 2 years, the most of any returning back in the country by nearly 500 yards. 92.2 career PFF grade, second among returning FBS running backs too. Not much of his receiver, less than 250 career receiving yards, and he'll need to take it up a notch in the Big Ten too. But there's no denying he's right now a top 5-ish running back in college football going into next year, and a guy that Oregon's going to really, really rely on that offense.
I think the receiving production can be added into his game because it's just not something they did at Tulane very often anyway. I don't know that's as much on him as it is their system. But no, Hughes is a guy that I just love the way he runs the football. He's so fundamentally sound. He's tough. He reminds me, Hughes won't be a first-round pick because running backs, you got to be real special to go in the first round now. But he reminds me of a guy who went in the first round a long time ago. That's Thomas Jones back in the day for the Chicago Bears. Me as a New York Jets fan watching him in the late 2002. It just reminds me of Thomas Jones. Vision, power, ability to fight through contact and always be leaning forward when he's finishing runs. I mean, Mekhi Hughes, you talk about a back that's going to keep you on schedule. That's really what he is, and that's what Will Stein's going to want in this offense.
And with the top 5 offensive line blocking for him too, it should be great for Oregon next year, that run game. Dalton, maybe your favorite player in the country, though, is up here for our defensive player spotlight.
He's up there. The last 2 years he spent at Purdue, he was really darn good, especially his freshman season. Dylan Thieneman coming in as a free safety in this defense. To me, it almost feels unfair. And there was a drop-off in his grades last year at Purdue because they weren't using him quite in that single high role as much. He played over 86% of his snaps at free safety in that system in 2023. That dropped down to 57% last year. Now, honestly, the grade was lower, but it comes out, I think it was against Notre Dame and somebody else that he just had like 2 really bad games that dragged it down. Dylan Thieneman's one of the elite safeties in college football, and I really think even more so than Caleb Downs, I think he's the best single high safety in the country. Yeah. I really do. I think if Oregon wants to get in some man-to-man scenarios on the outside and just have Thieneman back there as a center fielder, I have no issue with that. He's incredibly fast. He's really aggressive. He gets to the football. He's everything to me you could want in a single high free safety. He's going to be great in this defense.
Yeah, 80-plus grades in coverage and run defense over the last 2 years. I think it was criminal what Purdue did to him last year and how they utilized him. He's one of the best center fielders in college football, and Purdue rarely used him in that role. Last year, Dan Lanning, who's one of the most brilliant defensive minds in the country, probably knows how to use that kind of speed and range and ball skills in his defense. I'm excited to see what Dylan Thieneman could do in that defense in 2025. We've got Trevor in the chat right now saying Buccaneer legend Thomas Jones.
Yeah, Buccaneers too. That's a good call. Yeah, I forgot. I remember always the Bears and the Jets. I forget Tampa Bay also. Yeah, that's where I'm at with Mekhi Hughes. I mean, fundamentally sound and tough and keeps you on schedule. Back in the day, like Thomas Jones did, that's something that would get you taken in the first round. I don't think he has the home run speed to get taken that high, but I absolutely love Mekhi Hughes. He just, you know what it is with him, especially with the workload he had at Tulane. He's a guy you appreciate when you watch him down to down to down. He's getting 25, 30 carries down there in that big 12 personnel offense at Tulane, and he just keeps coming at you. I think it's going to be the same idea here with Oregon.
All right, over under 10.5, a lot like Ohio State. Are you going over or under right now? This is a tough one.
This is a hard one.
Because I can go first if you want. Because
go ahead.
I'm taking the soft over. There's a lot of things that worry me about Oregon next year. But you look at that schedule. They're at Penn State. I think they'll probably lose that game. They play Indiana. That's at home, too. But they're coming off a bye for that Indiana game. I look at that schedule. They should win every other game, probably pretty easily. So even though I have a lot of questions with Oregon, I don't think they're a national title contender. Or they are a national title contender, but I don't think they're in the inner circle for next year. I'm going over, which is weird considering how I'm not as high on Oregon as I was last year, but I still think with that schedule, they can go 11-1.
They certainly can.
I'm going soft over.
And it's so much on Dante, too.
Yeah.
It's everything is about Dante Moore. If Dante Moore is good, they could mess around and go to Penn State and win a game, right? They're talented enough. If Dante Moore is really good,
they're 12-0 last year.
If he's anything close to the last two they've had, they go 12-0 again.
My schedule's manageable, man. I was prepared when we went into this preview. Before I even looked at the schedule, I was like, I'm going to pick the under for Oregon because I just have so many questions. And then I looked at the schedule, I can't pick the under. I can't do it. I'm going over. It's a soft one because, again, losing 2 games is all it takes to go under.
It's the part of college football that's fun. It's just assuming the favorite's going to win every week.
Yeah.
Also. And it's also when your biggest question is your quarterback.
Yeah.
But they can
not even the quarterback is the weapons too, man. Is what I'm worried about.
It's all of that. But it's not like we don't have, other than Ohio State, we have questions, and maybe Indiana, we have questions about everybody's weapons here. So, man, it's kind of tough.
Yeah.
We're getting Oregon, Penn State again. Is that what we're doing?
I was prepped to take the under, and then I just can't. I can't do it with that schedule.
Yeah, because I know they can. We know they can run the ball, and we know they can play defense.
Yeah.
Darn it. Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think this might be an 11-1. And who's to say they don't go out to Penn State?
Are they a national title contender, though? That's the question I'm asking right now.
It's all on Dante. I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
Because if they couldn't do it with last year's offense, they might get just as far as they did last year.
Yeah.
And getting to and winning the Big Ten title game again, it's all on Dante. Because I see the scenario where you go, if you have major questions in your passing game, you could lose 2 games just to lose them. Mm-hmm. maybe USC just outscores you one day or something, or Iowa shuts you down one day up front. These things can happen. I'll ride the over with you. Even Indiana. If Dante Moore is struggling, and let's say they're coming off a loss to Penn State, and then they got to play Indiana and their defense.
At least you have a week off in between that, though.
At least you have that, but who knows?
Yeah.
There's a lot that can go wrong. Oh, man, I'm convincing myself out of this.
Take the under.
Yeah.
You going under?
It's Dante. Sure, I'll do it just to argue with you on it. I'm gonna go. They'll still be. I'm still gonna go with a 9-10 win range. It's still gonna be really good, but I need to see if Dante goes out there and they go 11-1 or 12-0. He might be in a Heisman race like the last 2
Yeah.
were. That's the only thing for me is I go.
Too.
Are we? Hughes could be as well.
Year.
Yeah, I'm going to sneak it under. I'm going to do the same thing I did to Ohio State and go, they'll probably win 10. Because a lot of things could go wrong in a football season. That's just how, especially if your questions are at quarterback and receiver, that's tight.